Kind of having a tough time with the YouTube gun rules. You know, they don't like us to talk about it at all, but the more I see the news, the more amazed I am at really the lack of knowledge and understanding about guns. I mean, we do background checks like any gun shop for anybody purchasing a firearm here. The government gives us a form that we have to fill out to do the background check, and they've just changed the form again, which essentially is just to change the order of the questions, which is kind of ridiculous, I think. Also, of course, they added on non-binary as a gender, so that was really important that the government spent millions of dollars redesigning a form, sending them out for free to every gun shop in the country, just so that people didn't have to answer whether or not they were male or female. It's kind of ludicrous. But every time they change the background check form, they just add new questions that any law-abiding citizen is going to answer correctly anyway, and any criminal is going to lie on anyway. So why keep adding more and more questions that the crooks are going to either not do the form because they're getting the guns some other way? You're just making it more difficult to fill the form out every time you change it. I don't get it. You're not achieving anything. I mean, you're not keeping guns out of bad people's hands by changing the order you ask the same frickin' questions. It makes no sense. So we just got these. Bug Assault fires table salt to shoot flies. It's a lot of fun. I've always hated flies, and now it's actually enjoyable when they're around. So another thought. So I just don't understand when gun laws, you've got towns like DC and Chicago have the most restrictive gun laws in the country, and they have the highest crime rates. How do people not understand that limiting guns more and more does absolutely nothing, because the bad people are always going to get guns? I love any Democrat that I can kind of discuss things with and debate things with. I'm certainly not always right, and if they realize they're not always right. The problem nowadays is there's so many of the wicked lefties that, I mean, they just think anything besides what they believe is either evil, or they're just so certain that they're right about everything. How can you not have a political divide in the country if nobody can have an informed discussion about any topic? And guns is a great one. I mean, just the thought that, oh, we'll just take away everybody's guns and that's going to fix things, it's so ludicrous. How do they not get it? It's just, I don't know. I'm at a loss. A perfect example of how crazy the world's gotten. So we got these visiting my sister-in-law in North Carolina, where we saw these and then we ordered them. But so clearly looks like a gun, but looks like a toy gun, and it shoots down the flies. So one of my family members, who will remain nameless, is so liberal that their kids, who are 6 or 7 years old, wanted to try this to shoot down a fly, and their mother went crazy because it was going to probably teach them to be violent, because you have to be an angry, violent, evil person to ever touch a gun, right? I mean, what is going on with the politically correctness of the world that you probably can't play cops and robbers as a kid anymore? You can't be, cowboys and Indians, because all that stuff is so evil and makes people bad. It's just so ridiculous. I actually think it's kind of funny that as the politically correctness increases, so in theory everybody should be getting nicer and more understanding of other people's situations, the anger in the world is getting worse. Isn't that exactly counter to what should be happening? Much like the increased gun laws are also increasing violence. Makes no sense. At some point people have to realize that that's not the problem. I think it's more maybe parenting and not being responsible and giving out participation trophies so that people have no personal accountability anymore. Maybe there's another way to look at things. I will say that in the interest of trying to be a better person and better understand both sides, I've been doing a lot of research. I've been listening to podcasts and things. You know, I listened to probably 40 or 50 hours of podcasts on the Civil War, which has been pretty fascinating. And without question, there has been horrible, horrible things in our past. I mean, slavery I don't see how any person with half a brain can think any part of that was right. But the fact that we are apparently still supposed to be paying for it, you know, all these years later, generations later, that there can't be some way that people can just get along at this point. I know it sounds incredibly naive. Just how much can you foster that hate for something that 4 generations ago, you know, had nothing to do with? I mean, it's been that long, and they're still fostering on both sides. I mean, both sides for sure. You know, so it's not something that clearly can just be forgotten about, but at the same time, we as white people, you know, the privileged white males, can't be expected to continually make amends for something that has had nothing to do with us. I mean, it's unreasonable, I think. You know, but one thing I will put down below, you know, this video is a link to Candace Owens, who I think is, you know, just an incredibly intelligent woman who just looks at things from a different angle that most of us, you know, or the kind of the people who listen to Fox News all the time, probably don't think about very much, because we have a tough time conceptualizing or thinking about things from the black person's point of view. But it's pretty fascinating, if nothing else. You know, she wrote a great book. But even if you listen to some of her podcasts, just to get a different side of the story can be helpful for both sides. As usual, I appreciate your time, and if you have any comments, please leave them below. If you don't mind, like or subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. Have a great day.